All right, well, we're live. Welcome back to the Buffalo Happy Hour podcast. What's up, Mike?
Derek, we traveled, and we are with our friend Tim, and we have a lot to go over.
Yeah, Tim from Elma Wine and Liquors on. How are you?
Great. Thanks very much for coming out, guys. Making the trip. Really appreciate it. Glad
Absolutely.
you're here. Look forward to doing a little drinking with you and talk about whiskey.
That's our favorite part. So you run Elma Wine and Liquor. You want to tell everybody where it is?
Yeah, it is right in the heart of Elma, 2350 Bowen Road. It's just south of Bullis Road. We're pretty close to the 400, really not that far from downtown Buffalo. Elma likes to call itself the heart of Erie County because it is actually smack dab right in the center of Erie County.
Oh, nice.
I always used to think of it as a south town, but I guess snow-wise it might still be. But
Sure.
It's really a pretty convenient, nice little town. Great people. We've got a nice store here.
Yeah. Did you grow up here?
I actually didn't grow up in Williamsville, but I purchased this store has been here since the 50s. I bought it just about 7 years ago now, and have been running it ever since.
Cool.
It's awesome. This place is like a staple.
Yeah, yeah. I meet customers every day that will talk about the original owners or the second owners and how they were good friends with them. Or it's only been, even though it's been open that long, there's only been 4 different. I'm the 5th owner. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm the 5th owner of the store. So
it's awesome.
It's 2 owners ago's daughter is still a regular customer. The previous owner is a regular customer. So it's a good spot.
So it was always a liquor store?
So the space where we're standing in right now actually was a salon at one point, and also a cheese shop at one point back in the 80s.
Hopefully not at the same time.
No, that wouldn't have made for very good business.
Yeah, I think codes would have came in somewhere.
Yeah, so I would love to have a cheese shop in the area again.
Yeah,
right.
It goes great with the wine. At that time, wine wasn't nearly as popular as liquor. Your Jack Daniels and Jim Beam's.
Right.
The wine was a little bit more sparse. So then the other side of our building was a general store, actually. The family used to live right behind where we're standing, right behind where you guys are standing. There is an old house, and so the store was attached. The family used to walk out, take care of the customers, and then they switched it over to a liquor store. And then they sold the store to one person, and they sold the building to another.
Oh.
And then the liquor store expanded over time, and then I expanded it again, extended back as well for storage a couple years back. So
No kidding.
yeah,
Wow.
it's been growing nicely.
So you have it split between wine on this side, right? And then liquor on the other side?
For the most part,
Okay.
it's there is some more wine on the other side, just because wine is a big part of our business,
Sure.
and we like to give it a lot of space. There's a lot more variety. There's a lot more types of wine and a lot of more variety in wine than there is in liquor. So try to cater to as many people as we can. We're, kind of a neighborhood-oriented store, so I try to have a little bit of something that makes everybody happy. Mm-hmm. Different prices, different styles, different sweetness, all that stuff.
Yeah, you do have quite a bit of variety. I mean, the reason that we found your store is because we were looking for the Nick Offerman 11-year Lagavulin.
I remember that.
So you were one of the only stores that had it at the time.
Yes.
Do you get a lot of those limited editions just because that's what you want to carry, or do they distribute it like that?
The distributors have come to know that I want those things, and they look out for me in that regard. My sales reps that represent those different products keep me up to date. I give them a lot of credit for, hey, Tim, this is going to be coming out soon. You interested? Months before it comes out. So
cool.
I have some time to think about it. But something like that was a no-brainer. I mean, it's Nick Offerman, it's Scotch. It's it was a little bit pricier than I would have liked it to be,
Sure.
personally. But for what it was, it's a good product. I think we might have like 1 bottle left. So
Nice.
I bought a bunch of it when I can get my hands on those limited releases. I do.
Yeah, that was an exciting time for us because we found out that it was being released. We talked about it for about 0.04 seconds, and it was find it. That it was like, hey, this is coming out.
Yep.
The next text was find it. You guys were the first store that came up in the search, and then because I work in East Aurora, I was like, right after work, I'm going there, and then I sent him the photo of it, And then the rest of the night we were celebrating, and we're like, "Do we do it now?" And he was like, "No, we can't open it now. Like this is a." It's a piece of gold. I mean, we can't. It's Nick Offerman's face.
Yeah.
It's on the box. Like, what are we gonna do? So then we decided for the 50th episode, we're gonna pop it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's it's a nice celebratory thing.
Right. So we're halfway there right now about. So it'll get back there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
get to
that's
it.
it's coming up. So that's why you're in such a big rush to knock these episodes out.
Oh yeah.
To say the least.
It keeps you on schedule, I guess.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Nice. Can I offer you guys a little
absolutely.
sip of whiskey here
Sure.
while we're talking?
Yeah, we can't get parched.
It's just noticing my mouth's a little dry.
For the 4 minutes that we started. I love it.
So we're actually gonna kill this bottle here.
It's my favorite.
Make sure you have some.
I will.
Okay.
So this is Elijah Craig small batch, but it's not just the regular Elijah Craig you see on the barrels. This is our single barrel. So last year we purchased an entire barrel of Elijah Craig. The sales rep came, brought us a couple different samples of different barrels. We had a couple staff and customers help us choose. Elijah Craig was actually a really tough one to choose because we had two samples. They were both fantastic, and they were both completely different flavor-wise.
Oh really?
Oh wow.
And so it was very tempting. I wanted to actually buy both barrels to sell to people, to show them how much the oak and the barrels really influence the flavor of the whiskey.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's the same recipe that goes into this, that goes into the regular Elijah Craig you'll see anywhere else on a store shelf, but just every single barrel is just a little bit unique and different. So this is actually our last bottle. I didn't even take any home with me. It sold so fast, so
Okay.
I'm glad
Cheers.
to
Cheers.
kill it doing something nice.
Absolutely.
So now when you talk about single barrel, that is fantastic. When you talk about single barrel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the normal distillery process is you take all your bourbon, you put them in barrels, and then basically you blend all the barrels together to get a nice consistent batch over batch. What you guys did was you took one single barrel, so it wasn't mixed at all. So you're getting a completely different flavor profile than the other ones because it wasn't mixed in. Is that correct?
That is exactly correct. Yep. Yeah. Normally the big distilleries will have thousands, the larger distillers will have tens of thousands of barrels aging at any time. Mm-hmm. And when they're ready to bottle, master distiller tastes different barrels, goes around, picks the ones that are going to blend together to get that same consistent Elijah Craig small batch that you would normally expect to get when you pick it up on a shelf, whether it's here or in Florida or wherever else in the world that you grab it.
Which could be different ages too, right? Like a 10 and a 3 or something
Yep.
like that.
They might grab a 3-year-old barrel and a 10-year-old barrel and a probably not a 20-year-old barrel, but,
Sure.
but they could.
Right.
And then they mix them all together to get that consistent product.
So how long was this one aged for? Did you?
This
say?
one was actually, I think it was 9 years. They don't put the age statement on the regular small batch, and in New York State they can't put stickers or anything on the bottle, which is why they give us the neckers to give the barrel number and everything.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Four Roses does,
Right.
but they go through an extra step of getting every label approved that they do for every single unique single barrel. Most of the companies don't want to go through that hassle, so
Right.
they just send us these cool neckers. I lost my Woodford Reserve one, but that is my single barrel.
Cask and Crew does those too.
Yep.
The little neckers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
Yep. So it's a great program. So if you're ever in a store and you see that they have, especially if it's like your favorite bourbon, if you have a go-to that you go to all the time, and a store you see that store has a store pick single barrel of your go-to bourbon, I'd really recommend you try it.
Yeah.
You might actually not like it. There is that possibility because the flavor profile might be different enough where it doesn't do it for you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But you might like it way more.
But it's unique, and you should.
It's unique.
You should try it.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. So, what flavor profiles are you picking up with this single barrel? A lot of vanilla and caramel to me.
Exactly, tons of caramel. I get a little bit of like dried apricot, dried fruit in there, and a little bit of weediness too that comes through for me, which I didn't notice before, but did pick it up that time.
I feel like I'm sitting on the other side of the phone watching one of your reviews right now. Because, so for all of our listeners that don't know, Tim, on his Instagram page and his Facebook page, he does these regular segments, sometimes multiple times a day, of these 1 minute of wine and 1 minute of liquor series. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Hashtag 1 minute of wine, hashtag 1 minute of liquor.
Love it.
It's they're 1 minute videos about a wine. Wine I do one every single day, and liquor I do once a week.
Okay.
I take care of my liver a little bit.
Yeah.
But the
throw an extra red in there. You'll be fine.
Yeah. The concept kind of, I'm not really even selling these wines, and a good chunk of the wine that I do videos on, I don't even carry in the store.
Oh, okay.
For me, it's more about education, trying to get people to learn a little bit more about wine, hear some of these different things that I'm tasting in the wine, so that maybe the next time they grab any bottle of wine or liquor, that they are thinking about some of those different flavors that might be out there, and
Sure.
starting to recognize them and what they're drinking, and just to share wine and share the different varieties, different things that are out there. You don't have to like everything, and some of the ones I do, I don't love, but I appreciate them as quality. I try to not do videos of ones that I just don't like or don't think are good, because I don't like bashing on people. But it's been a fun journey. I think we're over 700 episodes of 1 Minute of Wine so far.
That's what I was going to ask. What do you have?
I should have checked before you guys came in. I know it's
crazy.
In the 700s. I record a lot of them in chunks. So like today I just recorded 3 because there were distributors here with some open bottles. And then we just schedule them out ahead of time. So I don't always plan out when I hit those milestone numbers. I will start thinking ahead a little bit to episode 1,000.
Absolutely.
Like you guys are thinking about that Scotch.
Yep.
So it started because I was doing videos anyway. I was doing more educational videos, and I know, like, it's a lot of people watch the 1 Minute of Wine and they're like, "Oh, you're selling, like, that's a great commercial." I hear that a lot. And I'm like, it's actually not. I'm not trying to be pushy. I'm not trying to sell it. In fact, I don't even carry it. So it's
Good luck buying it.
So false.
So great for the winery. But I was doing more educational videos, like what kind of champagne to use in a mimosa, or what's the difference between bourbon and Scotch. What's the difference between the different types of tequila. And I love doing those videos, but it just got a little bit harder and harder to find new topics every week and to edit and process all those videos. So we are actually keeping a list right now of every question a customer asks us, and I'm going to start doing a little bit more of those, maybe in shorter format.
Nice.
But so I was looking for content ideas, and Instagram at the time switched from 15-second video to 60-second video, and it just kind of clicked with me. I'm like, I have wine open all the time, whether it's our bottles that we're opening to taste customers on, or whether it's distributors that are coming in and trying to sell us wine. Like, I can get a bottle every single day, just do a quick 60-second, and I'd say 90% of them I do in one take, so it's done and over with.
I was going to ask that because to me, I would stutter like crazy, and I feel like I would do 50 takes before it came out perfect.
There's times where it's either one take or it seems like it takes forever, because either customers just start walking in constantly, or I get tripped up in a name. Like, every once in a while, there's a name that hits us, and we make a joke about it, and then it sticks in my head when I'm trying to get it out. And I get tripped up on it.
Yeah.
Or, it's usually it, or who's ever filming me that day starts coughing uncontrollably, or, there's things like that. But my assistant manager, Matt, does 90% of the filmography now, as we call it. And he's been pretty consistent, has a steady hand.
Nice.
So
that's huge.
It's been good. And the people today, there was a woman here. We filmed some Brotherhood wines.
Okay.
And so she's from the winery, and she's standing here while I did them, one, 1, 2, 3, and she's like, "That was amazing." She's like, "It would have taken me an hour to try to do that." She's like, "And I sell these for a living."
Right.
It's but that was the whole point when I started, is I just wanted it to be quick and easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. I repeat some of the same words a lot, during some videos, and I get called out on it occasionally.
Everyone has their own thing. I mean, when we watch our videos back, sometimes it's a little cringy.
Yeah,
Because
I don't
weird
watch these
at that
either.
point.
That's the
Oh,
best
you
part.
don't?
I don't have to.
Yeah, it's true.
When I was editing my longer videos and I had to sit there and watch myself for an hour, not an hour, but 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
You get more self-critical. And
Right. Yeah.
It's tough.
So, do you have like a trained palate for this stuff, or do you just, based off of everything that you've had, you just developed this?
It's just developed.
Okay.
Just developed over time. I don't know. I got into wine a little bit post-college. I was living in Ethiopia, working for a German organization.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Wait, what? How did that happen?
Pour another drink.
You can't just gloss over that.
Yeah, I was living in Ethiopia. Weren't you living in Ethiopia? And you
Isn't
were
that
working
everybody's
for,
post-college stop?
yeah, seriously. And you were working for the Germans or with the Germans?
With a
What year is it?
so I immediately after college I joined the Peace Corps.
Nice.
I went to South
Okay.
America. So immediately after college, I had some time in between Peace Corps and graduation. I got an internship in Ethiopia working with coffee farmers and working in the coffee industry. I'm
Oh,
okay.
a huge coffee fan.
Where do I get this contact info?
Yeah,
Love
and
coffee.
so it was really fun. Spent 3 months, made some great friends and connections, and then I went in the Peace Corps in South America in a little country called Guyana. So I was down there I extended my service. I was supposed to do 2 years. I stayed for 3. And then I wanted a job back in East Africa. And so I called my old boss in Ethiopia. He said, come on back. We got a role we can put you in. So I worked for him for a year. That was a nonprofit out of Boston. And then I met some Germans that were running a massive program with the Ethiopian government. The two governments were working together to basically change the economy of Ethiopia from agricultural to industrial.
What did you go to school for?
Business, marketing, and finance.
So that.
Yeah. So that I used my marketing skills in a communication type role, and so it was a government program, but it was kind of run by like a non-for-profit type organization out of Germany.
Right.
That's who I was working for. Spent almost 4 years doing that. So I was hanging out with a lot of Europeans and there was a lot of wine at dinner parties and stuff, and started had an appreciation for wine and
Nice.
basic knowledge, nothing crazy, but that's where I started developing the palate. Whiskey I've always been a fan of since probably before I should have.
My man.
I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just the palate's just developed over time, and being here, we taste, probably at least a couple wines almost every day. There's some days where we're tasting 24 wines. You pick up different things every time you
Right.
do it.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool because we're starting to pick up way different things than when we first started, and that was half a year.
Yep.
So I couldn't imagine multiple years compounded. I'm actually excited for that because that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. But also, too, like, if you're trying to taste notes, like, from your videos, if you call out in a wine that you taste a dried apricot or something along those lines, if you've never personally had a dried apricot, you have no idea what that tastes like, so you won't be able to pick up those flavors. So that's where eating a ton of different fruit and eating a lot of different things helps grow your palate for whiskey and wine, too, right?
Yep, exactly. And that's, there's experts that have videos online where they sit down with a table full of just random stuff, dark chocolate, light chocolate, flowers, different like lavender and chamomiles and all these different things that you taste. And I've always been an adventurous eater. I'm pretty open to any kind of food.
Me too.
So it's not, I think having that knowledge of, it was one of your interviews, you were talking to somebody about gin and all the different spices that go into gin, and
Yeah.
the coriander and the cinnamons and the allspices. So I ate a lot of Indian food, and they use a lot of those spices in their things, which is kind of where gin got their influence back in the day as well. So having that palate already, I think, helps. So to your point, the best way to learn wine or whiskey is to go out and buy all these random little things and eat them alongside the wine or the whiskey while you're tasting it.
Because that's my biggest fault that I have when drinking some of the whiskeys or wines is I don't pick up the floral notes very well, because you're not going to get a lot of cheese and pepperoni taste out of a whiskey because all I eat is pizza. But so I'm not going to.
You don't eat a lot of flowers?
No, not really. So that's kind of where my fault is I don't have that type of profile. But listening to your interviews or your 1 minute of wine and 1 minute of liquor, it makes me want to eat more of those type of flavors so I can start tasting them too.
Yep.
Look at that.
Right?
Your parents
It's
will be
so
real
cool.
proud.
I
You
know,
finally
really.
gonna start eating your vegetables.
Yeah, sorry, Mom, you didn't help me. Tim helped me.
So if she starts paying me to say I taste broccoli and Brussels sprouts,
Yeah.
Tastes a lot of green peppers in this.
sponsorship opportunity, Mom.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
So what did you just pour for us now?
So this is Woodford Reserve. This is a single barrel again. So this was a store pick we just did late last year. We got it in the day before Thanksgiving, and we sold out. We sold our last bottle on New Year's Eve. 180 bottles. People were loving it. It flew out of here. So it is a little bit different than your regular Woodford Reserve. Touch sweeter, I found, and a touch more spice on the finish, which just made for a great drinker.
That does taste quite different from the regular Woodford Reserve.
Yeah,
Definitely more burn and spice to it.
Yep. Feels a little bit hotter, even though they bottle it at the same proof.
Sure. This is the box it came in too, right? Or this is
So
something else?
this is our Woodford Double Oak. So we did so well with the Woodford Regular, we just ordered a barrel of Woodford Double Oak. So this is actually how they send us the products.
That is so
So
cool.
when I tell my sales rep, hey, we want to buy a barrel of Woodford Double Oak, they ship us up this little sample pack. They give us 3 different barrels to choose from, and they're pretty good about. They actually give us tasting notes. We did not read their tasting notes before we tasted them,
cool.
just so we didn't influence ourselves.
Nice.
But their master distiller picks 3 kind of unique, different things. You're welcome. We can walk through that if you guys would like.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It is an interesting process when they do these single barrel picks. They send us the samples at barrel strength, so they don't cut them down at all.
Oh wow. Okay.
So when we did our Knob Creek barrel pick, they actually took the extra step to send us the the distilled water from Kentucky that they plan to use to cut the whiskey.
Okay.
So you're not even going to influence it with the different minerals from our water when you try to water it down. So I do have that in a little dropper. You're welcome to help yourself.
I love how they take that time to do that, because it just goes to show how it's still a gentleman drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's such a different culture.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah, this is very good.
Thanks. Yeah, we're really happy with this one.
So is this one in one of these here?
No, it is not actually. There is another box behind you.
The
Right here?
Knob Creek
Nope.
one?
Another Woodford
Oh,
one.
yeah.
So that is the kit that we use to select this one. That might be an interesting comparison for you guys. If we could just set that there. Okay. So. I think we picked batch C.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I'm not remembering at the moment, but I think it was batch B. So if you wanted to taste batch B, this is what we tasted when we tasted through them. And so this is at barrel strength.
Ooh. Nice barrel strength.
Yeah. So that's
Right.
63.5% alcohol, so 127 proof.
AKA, we're getting pizza at the gas station next door on the way home.
So we had to kind of guesstimate what it's going to taste like after it's watered down. We watered it down a little bit. We didn't go through any scientific measuring. You could actually measure it out and
Right.
know exactly where you'd end up. But
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know what the other ones taste like, but this tastes very similar to what
yeah.
was there. So that's really cool that they do that. Do any smaller distilleries do a similar type of program?
Yeah, actually. So I have a barrel from Tommy Rotter Distillery.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Their program is a little bit different though. They have their barrel aged gin.
Okay.
So I bought a barrel of their barrel aged gin.
Okay.
We came in. Bobby from Tommy Rotter came in with his suitcase full of samples. So he, I think we tasted I think the first time he came in, we tasted like 4 different barrels, and we picked one. And he got back to the distillery and found out that barrel wasn't available anymore. So he came back with a bunch more samples. So we tasted a bunch more, and that's a barrel strength. So they bottle their barrel aged gin at barrel strength.
Okay.
So the ones we have in the store are actually barrel strength in the bottle. They're hot, but they're delicious.
Yeah.
They make for really good gin and tonics. That little vanilla and caramel you get from the bourbon barrel aging really adds a lot to it.
How do you feel about these? Because I feel like this is, especially for single barrel, it's almost too good to put in a cocktail. Do you agree? I mean, this is definitely for me a sipper. I wouldn't.
Generally, yes,
Okay.
I agree. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't make an old fashioned with the Woodford Reserve.
No, I wouldn't either.
Classy.
That's because it's so limited and rare, and it tastes great by itself. I would be fine. The Elijah, you might want to throw little orange bitters or touch of simple syrup or something in it, but even that I sipped on its own quite a bit.
Are you a neat kind of guy, or do you like speed bumps?
I'm generally neat.
Yeah.
I will throw a small cube of ice in some whiskeys if it's a little bit too hot, but I'll take like a little tiny cube of ice and start there. And I let it melt, so the water gets added in. Sure. So instead of the dropper of water, it gets a little water in there to mellow it out, and it gets a little bit chill on it. So then I'll sip it, and if it's good, I do that a lot with some of the barrel strength, George T. Stagg Jr. Sure. And the Elijah Craig barrel strength is delicious, but sometimes it just finishes a little too hot, so I'll throw a tiny ice cube in it. Mm-hmm. But I love a good cocktail too. I make Manhattans a lot with usually use either Canadian whiskey or a rye whiskey.
Absolutely.
So how does somebody get into a liquor store from, if we're talking to local distilleries that aren't available everywhere? How would they get into here? Would they come in themselves? Would they send their sales rep, or how does that start?
Everyone's different. There's some that have that just come in. The owners come in themselves right when they're getting started, and they're trying to get distribution. There's a new rum distillery just down the road in Marilla, so really? They're being so close to them. They came to us early on, and we agreed to carry them. Some of them go with distributors right away, so then it's the distributor sales rep that might introduce us to the products. Sometimes some of them have hired sales reps themselves right away, so it's not the owner necessarily, but it's really up to them and how they want to approach it. Obviously, if they have the time, the best salesperson is the owner of the distiller.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But those guys are busy.
Oh, yeah.
They can't get to every store and every bar, and some of them have different agendas too. I mean, some of them want to go on premise first and get their name out through the bars before they focus on stores, because their production, they don't know if they can keep up with production. Sure. And it's frustrating for stores when we agree to carry something and then we go to reorder it because we're selling it, and they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be 6 months before we have more.
Right. So you got to remake it. Yeah.
We get it. It's a tough game, but we support just about all the local distilleries that I know of so far. If you're not in my store, come on in. We're happy to. We have a whole section for New York spirits.
Sure.
I like to give them at least a shot, and then see where we can go from there.
It's pretty interesting because there's a lot of local distilleries that people are now trying to get in with because they want to put their money local, right?
Yep.
So when their favorite local spirit isn't in the store, it almost works to your benefit too as a store owner, because then the customer can be like, well, do you have a mailing list?
Yep.
Like, can I get in on that? And then you can tell me when it's in, and then I can be one of the first people. But most people are afraid of the opposite, where it's like, well, you know what, I'll just go somewhere else. And it's like, well, then I just lost business. But I don't know, I think it's person to person, because that does happen relatively often with local.
Yeah, it's tough. And excuse me, I can't carry everything. Some of these distilleries have a dozen SKUs now, and I can't carry them all.
So can you pick and choose which SKU, or are you forced to pick everything up?
No, they can't force us to take everything. So with Tommy Rotter, I really like their regular gin. We have that. I have their bourbon barrel aged gin, the barrel that I bought.
Okay.
We just brought in. We hadn't carried their vodka for a long time, but a customer kept asking for it, so now we have their vodka. So every distillery, it's a little different of what we carry, what we don't carry.
Sure.
I try to spread it out a little bit. Vodka, to me, vodka is vodka, and some of the local ones are a little bit pricier than others, and so kind of weighing shelf space when they're in a section together with all the other New York spirits. Unless somebody's had that one and they want that one, I'll wait for the customer to ask me for it, and then I'll bring it in.
Okay, cool.
And that's how we do.
How's your foot traffic? I don't like. Do you have? Is there a way to gauge hard numbers, or do you have like a general amount per month, or?
Yeah, I don't. We
multiple hundreds.
Hundreds a week. Yeah.
Okay.
At least we do close to 100 a day during the week.
Wow.
So it's yeah. So we move through inventory pretty quick. And I do a lot of, to your point about asking when something's in, we do a ton of custom ordering here, like custom ordering, but just ordering as people ask for something. So you come in looking for a wine or a liquor that we don't have, we'll take your name and number, we call you back right away with the pricing, whether it's for one bottle or whether it's for a case for you, or whether it's a case for us to stock and you're going to buy it regularly. And then if you just wanted the one bottle, and we know that our price, because we're only getting one bottle from the distributor, is going to charge us way more. If we know that, we'll say, hey, we can get it for this price, but if you find it on a shelf somewhere else, you might save $5-10. And most people say, yeah, just get it for me. It's fine. It's one off. They don't, it's not going to kill them.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do that. We do dozens of orders a day, really. It's just because we,
awesome.
as much stuff as is in here,
there's a lot of stuff that's not.
There's a lot more stuff that's not.
Yeah.
And
you're a man for the people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Helping out the boys.
Exactly.
So what is your favorite?
From a service background.
Really. What is your favorite beverage? Do you like wine, gin, whiskey, vodka? Like, if you had to rate them, what would you put them at?
I'm going to steal a line from somebody, and I can't remember who it was. My favorite drink is the one in my hand.
Yep, there you go.
That's a good one.
It really depends on the mood. I really enjoy bourbon. I really enjoy rye whiskey. I like scotch. I would almost never just go pour myself a glass of scotch or order a scotch, but if I'm out with somebody and they love scotch and they have something in mind and they're ordering, I'll take it and I'll enjoy it. I got home last Friday night and decided to make a margarita. Enjoy tequila. Beer, and I love good craft beer. The hazy IPAs I've been really enjoying. Again, local. There's tons of great local spots. So that's been, but I don't buy it much. It's more of just if I'm out somewhere, which isn't a ton because.
What would you go out for?
I don't.
Right. He's got everything you would need here.
Yeah, really.
But I enjoy during the summer. I enjoy a good vodka drink. I used to hate gin. I've been really opening up to it. There's tons of flavors and combinations that we can get now. So.
So you just brought up beer, and then obviously the other spirits too. Can you go into a little bit the differences between how you are able to sell liquor here, but like in New York you can't sell it at a grocery store or anything like that? The legalities behind those?
Yeah. So we sell liquor and wine in liquor stores in New York State. Liquor and wine can only be sold in liquor stores in New York State. You'll see some wine products in grocery stores. Essentially, those are kind of either wine coolers or really low alcohol wines. I can't tell you exactly why. I've heard different reasons of why the laws are like that. Basically, after Prohibition ended, every state was entitled to make their own rules. That was the amendment that ended Prohibition, so it's an amendment to the Constitution that says every state can do what they want with alcohol. So, not to get into politics, but with the current state of things, the likelihood of another amendment happening anytime soon to the Constitution is fairly unlikely, especially dealing with something as kind of not as important as alcohol laws. So for the time being, every state just gets to do and say what they want within their own state with alcohol. New York, the wine and the liquor, I don't know why. Wine is really only in the last 20, 30 years has really started becoming an everyday, consumer product. You see it, now you see it more at the hockey arenas and baseball games. And, even when I was growing up, you wouldn't really see that too much. So I don't know if back then it was just such kind of an afterthought of, liquors and wine goes in this section and beer goes in this section, and beer can be sold with food. It's everything in my store has to have at least 1% alcohol in it, or 0.5% or something like that.
So, are you able to sell beer here technically?
No.
That's
still the ferment. I don't know the actual legal phrasing of it, but like the fermented. I don't know if it has something to do with the hops or something about the fermentation process, and at the federal level things are classified beer, wine, liquor, and then at the state level they are as well. So I think once they get their classification, there's no changing that, because even like barley wines, which a lot of some breweries make, those are still classified as beer. There's some gray area in ciders. So we can sell ciders. Grocery stores can sell ciders. So they get free reign of everything.
Right, but you can't sell water?
I might be able to. That's a good question. You stumped me.
Yeah. What about like seltzers?
Hard seltzers.
Yeah, you can, because it's more than 1% or 0.5% of alcohol, which is why I'm asking about water.
So not the Trulies and the White Claws, because those are
that's not even
malted.
Those are malted.
Yeah, it's malted.
It's malt liquor.
Yeah.
We sell the High Noons and
Southern
more brands, Southern Tiers hard seltzers that are using real vodka.
Yeah.
Which, it's tough. If you go into a grocery store and you grab a 12-pack of Trulies or White Claws, you're paying one price, and you come in here, you might be paying a little bit more for the real vodka drinks. Right. But if you drink them side by side, you will taste the finish on the real vodka drinks are so much cleaner.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can spot posers a mile away.
Yeah. That's tough, though, because you'll never really be able to go to one place and compare those two products.
Nope.
Because your Trulies will never be sold in liquor stores, and your Southern Tier vodka drinks will never be sold in grocery stores.
Yep.
So you're never going to pick up one each unless you go to the liquor store down the street, which makes it challenging to consumers.
It is. I mean, you might find a bar that carries both of them.
Sure, right.
But probably not, because they're probably going to go with the less expensive option in the most of the time.
And there's no clause with laws, too. Or no laws with clause, right? Is that what the phrase is?
Yeah, exactly. There's no laws when you're drinking clause.
Yeah.
Goodness.
There's one with Trulies, too. There are no Rulies when you're drinking Trulies.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
We're a couple of my sales rep and one of my employees were trying to come up with a good slogan for High Noon.
Oh, there you go.
I can't remember what they came up with. It wasn't as good as the clause one.
Yeah.
But people are coming around. People realize that we're doing more. High Noon's actually just started packing in 12 packs. Southern Tiers packing 8 packs. So it's becoming a little bit easier for the consumer. Up until this year, it was really single cans and 4 packs, and it just doesn't even feel as economical when you're buying can at a time.
Right,
4 packs.
Yeah.
So
you frequently have distilleries or people come here to be able to sample their products too, right?
Yes. So they're for the public. So they're in here a lot, giving us samples so that we can decide what we want to carry here.
Right.
But then we also have customer-facing tastings just about every weekend, Fridays and Saturdays during the busier times of the holidays, almost every day of the week, which is where we're standing right now, is our little tasting bar area. We started doing a little more classes, like educational classes. We had the representative from Black Button in here last fall, who did like an hour-long session with 10 people about how they make whiskey and how whiskey's made and all that. People really enjoyed that. We're just a little bit space limited, and we're trying to figure out a way to get back into that, do like just small little classes, give people more education. And it's really what a lot of our focus is here, is we want people to be aware of what's going on.
Right.
You know, those types of things. If you buy something, great, but if you don't, that's fine too. Just come in. You know, you don't have to come in and buy something. It's just come in. If we're having like this, probably be after this airs, but this coming weekend we have a really high-end single malt tasting on Saturday afternoon. I don't care if people just want to come in and taste them and go home. It's you know, it's free tasting. You're completely entitled to that. Expose yourself to a little bit of different products that you might not have tasted, and if you don't feel like dropping the money on a bottle, that's fine. At least you know what it's like, so that maybe when that special occasion comes up in the future, you feel like getting it. You know what it tastes like. So
that's sweet. So another topic too that I wanted to touch on, just because you and I were having a discussion on it a little bit ago, is specifically we hear quite a bit that what I have in my glass has already been taxed like 47 times, because it comes from the distillery. They get taxed on it. Then they get it in the retail stores. They get taxed on it. The consumer that buys it gets taxed on it. What type of laws are in place right now that inhibit liquor stores from making the most profit when it comes to taxes?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I try not to think about it too much because it's out of my control.
Right.
When I get the products, I pay a price for them. I don't see added tax at my stage. So when I'm buying it, it's that price. I know that there has been levels of taxation in there, whether it's on imported products, it's the imported duty. There's been some big things with that going on lately. Whether it's the state taxes, the excise taxes. I don't even know exactly where all those happen at what levels. I just know that they're there. They're built into the price that I pay. I get my products, I mark it up to where I need it to be to make profit and pay my staff, and pay my rent. And then the consumer pays the sales tax on top of it, which they're going to pay on everything they buy. Right. It's, if we did away with all the taxes, would sales go up through the roof? Maybe not. I don't know. It's a good question. I think the distilleries would probably be able to speak to that a little bit more, because they're the ones that actually come out of pocket and write checks for those taxes a lot more than I do. They're paying taxes on every barrel they buy or every barrel they make. Even like, I know with Hartman's, how they're bringing some of the stuff in from MGP right now. I think they pay a tax on that barrel, and then they pay the taxes when they put it in the bottles. I think that's how it works. Sure. So, and then when they're distilling, they're paying for every ounce they distill and every ounce they put in bottles. I know bars too, they get whacked with sales tax pretty good. The state kind of just comes up with formulas and estimates how much they should have sold based on how much they bought, because they do have a record of all of our transactions, all of our purchases from our distributors. But it's, I try to not think about things that are out of my control and focus on what I can. And it's tough, especially when you get a good customer who's, buying $100 bottles of wine by the case, and then you add it all up, and then you add another 8.75% onto it. It's like, here's the price. We work out, I might discount it a little bit, and then, and then it's right back up there, because you got to pay the tax on it. But it's out of their control too. Right. Yeah. You get some people that complain about it, and but there's nothing we can do, unfortunately. I'd be curious to hear more about the distilleries. Sure. I know they're the ones that are physically paying out those taxes.
And we can take that back and ask the next distillery we interview.
Oh yeah.
That'll be a good discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot to that. It's a huge topic that everybody's dealing with. We'll say.
Yeah, it is, but again, it is what it is. I kind of take a mentality for everything, not just taxes. Of it could always be worse.
Right.
There's the Scotch and Irish whiskey just got hit with a 25% import tariff last year. So you'll start seeing all of your Scotches and Irish whiskeys, Irish cream, go up quite a bit in stores and bars over the next, as inventory gets caught up. And then there was talk about putting 100% tariff on wines from Europe, which, on the surface, it sounds like it might be good for American winemakers. And it might, I guess, but nobody really knows for sure.
Yeah.
What it might have also the effect of doing is just stifling wine in general and kind of slowing down the growth of the industry, because there's some great quality, inexpensive wine coming out of Europe that gets people into wine.
Sure.
And gets them into that stepping stone of, this is what decent wine tastes like. And they move up the chain. And, a lot of people that start on Scotch or Irish whiskey before they find bourbon.
Well, even if you think about, bourbon in general, a lot of the formula behind it and basically the essence of it has come from Scotland and Ireland for some part of it. So, if that stifled that portion of it, we wouldn't be having some of the great whiskeys that we have now. Exactly.
And that's, the collaboration and the work between what they learn from each other is a big thing. Scotch and Irish distilleries also buy a lot of the used bourbon barrels from the bourbon distilleries.
Right.
So that's a revenue source for the bourbon companies. So if Scotch declines, I guess there's more wineries and breweries that are buying bourbon barrels now too, but that's a potential hit for them of what they're going to do with bourbon barrels. Because as you guys probably know, bourbon has to use a brand new barrel for every batch.
Oh yeah.
Scotch, Irish, other types of whiskey don't have to follow that rule. So they scoop up the used bourbon barrels for pennies on the dollar because it's cost effective for them. So it's a tough situation, but again, like anything, I just try not to think about it. I can't do anything directly right now. It actually doesn't. It bothers me, but it doesn't. It's not. I don't go home and sit in bed and think about, oh man, what would life be like if we didn't have to pay taxes? And
sure.
Yeah, me neither. Then I totally don't think about that.
Yeah.
We just had a discussion that it's going to release on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Where he gets fired up about taxes. But it's one of those, like you said, it's one of the things you can't control. So it's easier to just put it on the back and not think about it.
Yeah.
Unless you're this kid.
And I get it. I completely. I understand. I don't like seeing how much of my money goes to taxes. It's frustrating. But I've also lived in countries that don't have a good tax system.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I hear you there.
And they don't have any infrastructure.
It's still the greatest country in the world. It drives me nuts where we can live in a different state and not have some of these issues.
True.
But
Yep.
Cheers to some Knob Creek single barrel. So what's this?
So this is our this is the first barrel we ever bought. This is our Knob Creek single barrel. They actually bottle their single barrels at 120 proof.
Oh yeah, me too.
So if you do ever see their bottles on the shelf, it's a regular single barrel. It is 120 proof. So that's what they bottle when we buy a whole barrel.
So you
don't have to drink it. There is a sink over there. You can dump it out.
We're doing it. We're doing it. I can't waste single barrel Knob Creek.
What would be your go-to bourbon if you had to buy one?
That's so good.
I like Eagle Rare a lot.
Okay.
I like Four Roses single barrel a lot.
Four Roses in general is really good.
Four Roses is great. I'm actually going to be down there in April picking a barrel at the distillery there.
Oh, nice.
Super excited about that.
Yeah, I'm super jealous.
Well, we'll have to come and buy a bottle of it.
Yeah, or you can come to Louisville.
There we go.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Road trip with Tim.
Yep. You'll be eating fruit all the way there. I gotta prepare.
Man, I heard this has a lot of apricots in it.
Dirt. You gotta know what dirt tastes like.
Has an earthy taste to it.
Leather. Just sitting there drinking beet juice.
chew on some leather.
So how does one acquire those tastes? Like when you say this tastes like shoe leather, how do you
You
know?
serve in the Peace Corps,
Yeah.
and you join the Army,
Yeah.
and then you'll get some
Yeah.
dirt.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, some of that is just
Smell.
the smell and how I think it would taste. There are sommeliers and masters of wine that do actually, they'll chew on a piece of clay or something else to get that nuance palate.
Cheers for them.
There's-
That's what we call the gym class hero back in the day.
Yeah, the master of wine, like, so you have heard, sommeliers or restaurants and stuff. There's a level called master of wine that there's only a handful of people in the world that have achieved that level. They can identify wines like you wouldn't believe just from smell. They can pick the region and the types of grapes, and when they taste it and they think about it, they'll know what year it was from because
And we're like, I think I taste caramel.
Caramel, vanilla. It's bourbon.
That's crazy. Have you ever thought about becoming a certified sommelier?
I've given
or
it
something?
a little bit of thought. It's not something that's really. I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do. It's kind of like the person. Like I also really enjoy cooking. I'm not going to become a chef. I never I knew that at an early age. I didn't want to become a chef. I didn't want to have to do it and have to study. And I like what I do and I enjoy trying new things. So.
Yeah.
But I give a lot of credit to people that do that because it's a pretty intense process. They have to learn a lot. They have to try a lot of different stuff. It's expensive too. If you don't have if you're not working at a store or a restaurant or as a sales rep in the industry, trying to get your hands on enough bottles of different varieties can add up.
Multiple thousands.
Yeah, really. Is there a proper way to taste, like with smelling alcohol and just anything in general? You're supposed to open your mouth, that way the air can pass through. But from a tasting standpoint, is there a proper way to extract the correct elements, or am I thinking way too much into this?
No, I probably don't have the full correct answer. There's probably people that will bash on my answer, but with wine, you want to swirl it around. So the first thing is you want to look at it. And it generally applies to whiskey as well. You want to look at it, pick up the colors, kind of think about what that means. With wine, the way the color is at the edge can indicate how old it is.
Oh, okay.
And then you want to smell it, pick up the different aromas that you're getting. A lot of times those will translate into the taste. Sometimes they don't, though. Sometimes they're completely different. I had a Pinot Noir today that it smelled like a chocolate bomb, and it tasted like earth. It's just completely opposite.
Tasted like earth.
I would want the other way around.
Yeah. So, and then when you're tasting it with wine, you want to kind of breathe in and it almost sounds like you're slurping.
Okay.
Get that to oxygenate it and get it exposed to your whole mouth and let it swirl around, cover all of your taste buds, your entire tongue, because different parts of your tongue pick up different flavors. So you want to let it coat your whole mouth. And it's the same thing with whiskey too. I kind of let it roll over my tongue, get some of that air in, but I don't breathe in as heavy because the alcohol will choke you back of your throat.
Yeah, it's a wild
I've
experience.
made that mistake.
Yeah. So try this at home first for everybody listening. Don't go out to the bar and just try to do this and then spit all over the person in front of you because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. So when we say drink responsibly, we mean more than just the amount that you're drinking.
Yeah.
Put the person's neck in the lucky day just because you're trying to sip whiskey.
I also take another big inhale with my nose as I'm taking a sip. Sometimes that changes the aromas as well. But yeah, I've choked up on wine. As much as I do it, I still every once in a while when I'm kind of trying to breathe in, get some air in while I'm doing it, it gets down the wrong pipe and spend 20 minutes coughing up a lung.
At least the cough tastes like earth, though.
Exactly.
Tastes like something.
Yeah.
Have you ever found a wine that you love and then overdrank it to where you had to take a break? For example, I found Mark West Pinot, drank that consecutively for months. I mean, I would have eggs for dinner and I would drink it because it was dinner.
Yep.
So it was just nonstop. And then I had to take a break. Have you found something like that?
That's a great choice of mine to get on that, but not really. No, with wine especially, I don't drink the same bottle too often.
Okay.
I mix it up a lot with wine.
It's easy too because there's so many.
Yep, exactly.
So many.
And with liquor, the only thing I drink consistently enough that I would say there's a potential that I would get sick of it is Manhattans. And so because sometimes I'll use Canadian Club, sometimes I'll use High West Rye, sometimes I'll use another type of rye. I'm never going to get sick of it. And I don't. It's not like I'm drinking multiple Manhattans every night. So it's, one on the weekend or something. It's not too often. And then during the summer, I'll switch it up. I'll switch to gin or vodka drinks. So I've never had that happen. I see that happen to other people though a lot. Like you, I get customers that'll come in and buy the same wine repeatedly, and then all of a sudden they'll come in and say, "What else you got?" And I'm getting a little sick of that one. And we try to do our best to try to find them something comparable. Sometimes it's people. We watch a lot of people move through a progression of sweet to dry, which is always fun.
That's what I did.
That has to be interesting. Just
Yep.
It took about 2 years, but I got there. I started with church wine, and then that was because I was forced, and then went to box wine because that was what was available.
Yep.
And then I met my soon-to-be wife, and she introduced me to wines, and she was already like dry as dry can be.
Yep.
I couldn't do it. It was like drinking pepper. Yep. I was like, you gotta take it down a few notches. And she's like, okay, we'll start here. There's a wine called Ruby, and I don't know who makes it.
Brotherhood, it might be.
And it was juice. It was super sweet. Yep. Drank that, and I was like, oh, I'm drinking wine. Pinky out, swirling it, and I was like, look at the legs. Look at the legs. And she's like, you're a disaster. And then now we fight over certain bottles, and they're all dry. We never really have white in the house, and it's always a dry red.
Yep.
So.
Yep, and that happens to a lot of people. If they, there's some people that stick with sweet, and they like sweet, and they stick with it the whole time. But especially when you have a partner or friends that like drier, and then you just slowly get exposed to it more often, and that you kind of have the urge to say, well, maybe I should try to like this a little bit more, because why not? They seem to enjoy it, and they move through that progression. A couple of my employees have done that, where they came in and started working for me, sweet wine only, and now they're buying bottles of bone dry wine.
Yeah.
It's a cool phenomenon. It is, I was having a conversation with somebody this morning about the sour beers, and not for me. I don't like them, but I could easily see how if I started having one more regularly, I would end up liking them, because I see that as an acquired taste, kind of like IPAs were for me as well.
Same with coffee. I mean, you start off with a quadruple from Tim Hortons, and then eventually you'll get to a black coffee.
Exactly.
It's an acquired taste that you just have to work up to.
Yep. I mean, if you get exposed to some decent quality single origin coffees, all of a sudden you realize that there's sweetness there, and you don't even all the different flavor nuances in coffee as well.
So since you had that stint doing coffee, what would be your favorite coffee? Because we're going to a coffee. Premier Coffee, is it?
Yeah.
We're interviewing Premier Coffee on Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. Hashtag not a shout out, but
but kind of.
Or hashtag not a sponsor, rather.
They do great coffee. They were one of the original roasters in Buffalo that actually did their own roast. Well, McCullough does as well, but Premier's, as far as selling the whole beans and having different types of coffee, they do a great job.
Their Costa Rican's amazing.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've had any of theirs, actually. But I'm a little bit partial to Ethiopian coffee because I spent so much time there. Yirgacheffe is a particular region that gets a lot of attention, but it is really good coffee. I'd say I don't actually get it very often anymore. They're a little bit tougher to come by, and I don't go out of my way too much to go get it, unfortunately. It's just kind of get whatever's around.
Yeah.
But Premier's a good coffee.
Well, we're basically right at an hour already. That flew by.
Wow.
Do you have anything else that you want to talk about for your place here? Also, the social media platforms that you're on.
Yeah, so we're on every social media platform except TikTok so far. But
A lot of interviews
feel
that
like
we've had.
Everybody says that.
I feel like I'm kind of also putting it out there. Should I be? You know, I don't know.
I don't know the time limit on it. Do they have a time limit? Is it 15 seconds?
I thought it was 15 seconds, but sometime when I have looked at it, I feel like some of them go on forever. So I don't know.
It's because they're all terrible. And when you're watching them,
Could
this
do
can't
a
be just
15
15
seconds
seconds.
of wine, 15 seconds of liquor on there.
But yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere. Instagram, we're Elma Wine Liquor, all one word. Facebook is Elma Liquor. Twitter is Elma Liquor. Snapchat is Elma Wine Liquor. Haven't been as active lately on
Oh, that's cool. You guys are on
snapping.
Snapchat too.
Yeah, I was really active for a while, and kind of got out of it when Instagram stories kicked in. I moved back over there.
I feel like a lot of people did that.
Yep. But our store is in Elma, as I said.
Business hours?
Love people 9 to 9, Monday to Saturday. We are closed on Sundays,
cool.
Nice.
except during the holidays.
Sure.
So I get some flack from people about it, but
It's common,
it's
though.
just
Yeah.
even during the holidays, we don't do enough business on Sunday to justify having the staff here. We have a loyalty program with our customers now,
cool.
so people earn points and get rewards. Special deals going on all the time. Yeah, love for people to follow us. It's as I said, I do this. A lot of the stuff I do on social media is more just to help educate and have fun. Occasionally throw up a promotion, some sale item, new products, but even that's more just to let people know what's going on, what's out there.
And for a lot of the bourbon and wine drinkers and drinkers in general, if you are ever curious about a brand that you don't know what it tastes like, you have to. I keep harping on this because I watch every single one of them. The 1 minute of wine, 1 minute of liquor. I can't even say it right now. I don't know how to do it in one take. But the series is just incredible, and you really do help people understand what tasting notes are common in these drinks for them to say, "Oh, that's an interesting flavor profile. I'm going to go buy one of those." So seriously, go follow them and give those videos a listen because they're awesome.
Thanks. I really appreciate what you guys are doing with this podcast.
Cool.
It's fun to have some local, connoisseurs and enthusiasts talk about the stuff.
Those are loose terms. We're not experts in the field.
I think you are. Your knowledge and your taste palates are pretty superior to a lot of people. So it's
Wow.
Well, I
That's
appreciate
it.
that.
That's
coming
it.
from you.
Show's over with.
It's the last episode ever. We're going on top.
I know. That's it.
but
thank you.
it's fun, especially with your local vibe too. It's great that you do that. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. It's been
Take
awesome.
care.